Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. The things that you are going to need for the Hennessy drip cake are, of course, your cakes, and I will put the recipe for the cakes in the description box so you can go to that. The recipe calls for 2 8-inch rounds, but you actually want to do at least 3 because for a drip cake you want it to be a little bit taller. You won't have the same effect if you just do 2. So you're going to need, this is going to have cupcakes with it, so I have cupcakes here. You need a spatula. This is a piping bag. This is the large piping bag. You can use large or small. This is a 1M tip. These are my pipettes. Let me focus that. Here, some Hennessy is gonna go inside of there, and I have some letters here that I already prepared. It says happy birthday, and I used the tap it in order to get those letters. You're gonna need a cake board. This is a 8-inch cake board. You will need a scraper, and this scraper is from the Dollar Tree. Some cling wrap or plastic wrap. I use the plastic wrap to go around my bottle so that the bottle doesn't actually touch the cake that you're about to eat. And then these bottles were $5 a piece. They might be a little higher or a little less depending on where you are. This extra bottle here I did not cover because I'm going to be using it to fill the pipettes here, and also I'm going to add it in the ganache for the drizzle. And you can use whatever alcohol you want. It doesn't have to be Hennessy. And here I have some simple syrup, and what I do with this is just you squirt it over the cakes after they've cooled, just so that your cakes are moist. So don't forget to always use your simple syrup when you do your cakes, or else they might be dry by the time they cut it. All that is 1 part sugar and 1 part water, and then you just put it on the stove until it comes to a boil. So 1 cup of water, 1 cup of sugar will make you some simple syrup. I have some Hershey's milk chocolate chips here. Heavy whipping cream. That's gonna go in the ganache, and also I use that for my buttercream icing. This is homemade buttercream. I'll put the recipe for this in the description box as well. I have my trundle here. Of course you're going to need a trundle to turn the cake. And the last thing is a 14-inch cake platter, because I'm going to put the cake in the middle and the cupcake surrounding it. This here, like I said, it's going to go on top, and it's 8-inch cake board. So that's everything here, and let's get started. So place your trundle down, and then you're going to take your cake board, sit it right here. You can put a piece of tape up underneath here so that it won't move off of here, or some people put a little bit of buttercream there just so it can stick down. And take your cake board and just put a little bit of, just a little spoonful of buttercream right there in the middle. That'll be like a glue to keep the cake down. And actually I'll flip this over because I like mine to be this side up. So just make sure it's even all the way around. And now you just frost it. The only way to tell how much frosting you should put in between your layers is just by you practicing. You'll know how you like your layers to be. You like a thin layer of icing in the middle, or if you like a thick layer of icing. It all really depends on you. Me personally, I don't like to put too much. So I think that's good there. Now we're going to put the other one right on top. And I do the same thing. This side I put down just because that's softer and this is more firm. That's the only reason. You can do whichever way you want. So make sure you even that out as best as you can. And repeat the same process. Put your buttercream on there. I use 2 different spatulas so I don't put crumbs into my bowl of icing. I'm just gonna get a little bit more. This is just American buttercream. It's powdered sugar, vanilla, and some heavy whipping cream. So we got the 3rd layer. We're going to place the 3rd layer right on top here. And let me even that out. And then frost. It doesn't matter if you do your top or bottom first, or your tops or sides, like doing up here or the sides first. You could do it either way. But right now I'm just doing a crumb coat because even though this is just a drip cake, I still do crumb coats for every cake that I do. So you just use a thin layer of icing for your first coat. It doesn't matter all of that is showing through. This is just to seal in the crumbs. I got the top done and I'll do the sides. And why am I using the spatula for this? Let me use the scraper. Use your scraper to do that. You can get done so much faster. I just realized that. Let me go around here so I'm not. You hear that scraping? That's what you don't. You do want to hear that sound. Just making sure you get all of it off. Because like I said, this is just a crumb coat. So that is it right there. That is going to be my crumb coat. Let me just put a little bit more here. It's sloppy, it's ugly, but that's the way it's supposed to be. So we're going to put this in the fridge for about 5-10 minutes. Or you can put it in the freezer for 5 minutes. Whichever place you have room. The cake has been in the freezer for 10 minutes. So now I am going to frost it. I got my bowl of frosting here, my scraper here, and then I use a bowl of water with mine just to smooth my edges, or you can use your icing smoother. I just take some icing, I place it on the scraper, and then you want to go around. You're just gonna put it here on the board and just push it around. And just keep doing that until you get all the way around. It's going to be a little different if you use an icing scraper, but it's kind of the same concept. You can go up like this, or you can go on the side like that. So you will have that there. And I'm not going to dip my scraper into the water just yet. Right now I'm just making sure I have enough icing all the way around. Just make it whatever thickness you want. If you want a thick coat of icing on your edges, then you're going to put a lot on there. This bowl that I made of icing is only one batch. And it's completely frosted. A triple layer 8-inch cake. Now that is ice, and then I'm going to go back around and fill in these places that I have at the bottom where you see the gaps. And I'm just going to use the spatula for that, to go right along the bottom and make sure those holes that you see are filled in. And I still haven't used any of the water just yet. Make sure your water is really hot. So you might want to pour your water once you get done with this step. So now it's filled all the way in, and I'm making sure I have enough around the top. I'm just going to put a little bit more around my edge. And there you go. Now for the water part. If you have a icing scraper, you are going to skip this step right here. You take your bowl of hot water and you just sit the scraper in there. Just give it a few seconds, maybe about 30 seconds to sit in the hot water. Then you take it out right while it's dripping. It doesn't matter that the water is all over it. Trust me, it'll be fine. And just turn as you go. Then when you see that, you're going to need another bowl to just scrape your extra off. So let me grab another bowl. Another bowl here for my extra icing. So I'm going to put that right back in there. And you just keep going. Scrape your extra into the bowl. Keep doing it. Push a little bit as you go. You don't have to be like Incredible Hulk, but you need a little bit of pressure to smooth that out. You see how that's getting smooth? That's from the pressure mixed with the water. So I'm gonna go all the way around. If you hit an air pocket, and you'll see here I hit an air pocket, all you need to do is just take some icing and put it back on right there. I'll take my water and boom, it'll smooth it back down. And there you go, a pretty smooth cake. Now you can take all the time you want to make this perfectly smooth, but you don't have to. It all depends on you, especially if you're OCD. You are gonna want to take your time with it. So the sides are smooth. Now we're gonna smooth the top. The way I smooth the top is just pull it in. Place the scraper over the edge and pull in like that. Just keep on pulling it in. Now you place it on top and just drag it like this, smoothing it out as you go. So once you get your top nice and smooth, you want to fix that edge. You just pull it in. Occasionally you can clean your scraper because sometimes that will get in the way and it will drag the icing. So just go ahead, wipe that with a clean paper towel. And we're going around one final time. There you have it. Frosted and ready to be decorated. Now you're going to put this cake into the freezer for the second time, the fridge or freezer, wherever you have the room. I'm going to be putting this into the freezer right now, and I'm going to leave it in for 15 minutes. Leave it in the freezer for at least 15 minutes. That part is very important. If you don't, your drip is going to fall straight down and it's going to pool up all across the bottom. The cake has to be really, really cold in order for the drip to come down and stop. While the cake is in the freezer for 15 minutes, I made the ganache, which the link to this ganache is going to be in the description box as well. So you can check that out, and I'll actually put the video in at the end so you can go to it. But the ganache is all ready. And then also while the cake is cooling, I am gonna put my icing in my bag. So this is the one in tip. I already cut the hole at the bottom, but normally you would just stick this in there and then take a knife and go around. Your knife right where you see the slit starting at, not way up here. Don't cut way back here. Don't cut too far down, because if you do, your icing is not going to come out in the design that it's supposed to. So fill this bag. If you don't feel comfortable enough holding it like this and putting your icing in, you can always sit this entire thing right here into a cup and then fill it. And see how much icing I had left? That's from one batch. I'm going to put all that icing in there. Push that down. You can use the ties if you want. I don't use a tie. I just twist it like this, and I just hold it with this, my pointer finger and my thumb, and I squeeze like that. But you can tie a rubber band around here, or a twist tie, or the actual pastry bag ties. So my icing is ready to go, and I'm gonna pour the ganache into my squeeze bottle. And give that one more stir, and make sure all the chips are melted. Check for any lumps. You don't want it to clog the top of your bottle. Then I'm gonna just pour this in here. You see how much that made? That's so much. I'm not even gonna use that much. That's why normally you should go with about 1/4 cup instead of a 1/2 cup, because that is probably enough ganache for 2 or 3 cakes, or 3 or 4 cakes. Now we are moving the cake from the trundle to here, the platter. And I just took the cake out the freezer. It was in for 15 minutes. Now we'll move the cake. I'm going to use my scraper and a knife. And place the knife right underneath, right here. As you put the knife in, you'll feel the cake board. Make sure you're going underneath the cake board and not on top of the cake board. That's very important. So then you lift it right up. You're going to put your scraper underneath here on the other side. And then voila, you'll be able to move the cake. Try to center it as best as you can. And because I'm putting cupcakes on here, I want to put it back a little bit. And let me go around and check if that is even. Yeah, that's pretty even. So I'll take my scraper, and to get the knife out, I'm just going to put just a corner, only a corner in there, and pull the knife out. And then 1, 2, 3. There we go. And now you just take a wet, clean paper towel and go around this plate, cleaning it. I got my wet paper towel here. I lift this up. I put it on the trundle. Now I'm going to go around and clean it up. I know I'm going to have to fix that there, but that's a simple fix. I can put a little icing there, or I can easily just cover it with my border, either or. If you are not going to be putting a border on the bottom, all you have to do is take some icing on your spatula and just fill it in there. Or to be more precise, you can use your piping bag. You will use a small tip, a really small circular tip. Put it there and squeeze around, and that will fill in that gap so perfectly you won't even know it was there. Or to avoid even having that gap, you can always transfer your cake onto your platter before you ice it. Just as long as your platter is wax lined, then you'll be able to wipe it without it leaving any stains. Now while the cake is cold, put your drip on. So I got my bottle here. To give you an idea of the size hole it is, there's the hole right there. So just, what I like to do is start on the ugliest side. That way you know if it's coming out wrong, it's on the ugly side anyway, and that's the side you're going to be covering. So pour out a little bit just to test. I'm just going to pour a little bit here and make sure it's going to come out good and not going to come out as water. So I pour that there. It's really thick. It's perfect. Now I'm going to start my drip. I go along the edge and just squeeze just a little bit out. You see that's going to stop. And then I'm going to go around, squeeze a little more there, squeeze a little, a lot. And you get the gist. Just keep on going. The thickness of your drop, it depends on you. So if you want it wider, you can always use a wider tip, or you can just squeeze a little more out, but I suggest you just go by whatever size tip you want. Different tips will give you different results. I cannot stress this enough. You do not need to squeeze a lot out. Only squeeze a small amount, because if you squeeze too much, all of your drip will fall to the bottom. And there. And that's it. That's gonna be drip. Now for the top, you can fill your entire top in with ganache if you want to. I'm not going to, because I'm putting so much on top here that there's no need. So to give you an idea how much I use for this, I only use that much. So it'd be like 2, 3, yeah, about 4 cakes can be done with this. So now that the drip is complete, I'm gonna go ahead and just pipe my border around the bottom and then pipe my border around the top. If you have some Russian piping tips, those are great to use for this. Or you have a good old-fashioned classic Wilton tip, that's also good. So this is like a rosette tip. So I'm going to go around the top. I'll do the top first, and I am going to make just some swirls completely around the border. So if you have some chocolate covered strawberries you want to put on top of here, that would be good as well. I started to do a rosette, and then let me move this over for you to see it better. And I give it about a 1/2 inch space in between each one. So there it is. The top is almost completed. Just got to put the bottles in. So for the bottom border, I just changed the tip to a 16, and I had to use the coupler because the larger tips don't use a coupler, but this small ones do. So just switch out your tip. This is a 16. I'm just gonna go all the way around. So there's my border, and you know where that gap was? I left the gap open so I can show you. I'm just gonna fill it in. Just squeeze until that entire space fills in. Now that I have it all filled in, I am gonna go around it and finish piping. There you go. That is the entire cake. Now it's time to put the bottles in. So my bottles are just wrapped in saran wrap. I just put the saran wrap close to the label and wrap all the way around so that none of this has to touch the cake. You also need to clean this, clean the outside with some disinfectant, and then wrap it in saran wrap. You're going to stick it right into the cake. So I figure out which side I want to be the front. Of course, the front is going to be your prettiest side. And then put a little bit of icing on your board, like a little dot, just so you can mark to know that this is always going to be the front. That's just my little trick. So I'm using 4 bottles. I'm going to do 4 blobs of icing on top. So I'll go in the center here. And move that up for you a little bit. I'm gonna just do 4 even amounts. And then those peaks are where I'm gonna place the bottles. So first bottle I just put in. I'm gonna do the second bottle. Turn it upside down. Make sure your saran wrap is not gonna be showing. And stick it right through the center of your peak. For the third one, do the same thing again. I'm making sure my saran wrap is not all the way up. The last bottle. This one I know I put way too much, so let me just bring it down a little. Especially that one up front. You don't want that label to show. Or the saran wrap to show. So it's all the way finished. Now if you need to go back around with this, you can, but you shouldn't have to. But if you made a mistake or anything, just go back and pipe some more around. So that's it for the cake. It's completely finished. Now I'm gonna do the cupcakes. That's the front. That's the back. We're gonna put these cupcakes on here now. And for when you put the cupcakes on, you want to put a little bit of icing on the bottom so that they can stick around the cake. For the cupcakes, I have my cupcakes here and then my ganache here. So the ganache is room temperature, and I'm just going to drizzle it on the cupcake. I'm going to drizzle it on each cupcake. Now it's time for the pipettes. You see I have 2 back here that are already done. And that is how it's going to look. I'm just going to finish filling up my pipettes. So I take a measuring cup, I pour the Hennessy in here, and then you want to take your pipette. Let me focus this for y'all. Take the pipette, squeeze it really, really tight, and let it fill up. Then to get that bubble out, you're going to turn it upside down, squeeze all the air out, and then put it back in, pull up the rest. So now you will have a completely full pipette. Then I'm just placing them right on the sides. Anywhere, just like that. So you will end up with this. Oh, and those are my pipettes. And there it is with the cupcakes all finished. I need to move that over a little. That is a little uneven. See, I can tell now. I have to move this all the way over. Oh, it needs to move more. Okay, that's good. Now let me zoom it in for y'all so you can see it really, really close. There it is. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you on the next one.